this client was seeing tens of thousands of inquiries annually, and about half to 60% of those were simple inquiries, not even just disputes on payment deductions. And the volume of kind of the money at play here was in the millions, right? So there was millions of deductions and millions of disputed deductions through this workflow. And so you can imagine that, one, this is a very consequential workflow for the business, and a really heavy investment in getting it right. And so we worked with this client to put a system in place, leveraging the 5 strategies that we walked through in this presentation, implementing a built-in governance, a platform that enabled self-service, intelligence to make to drive the efficiency and reporting and the like, in order to do that. So with this implementation, there were over 5,000 suppliers in the platform and over 10,000 total users. And almost instantly, we saw a meaningful improvement in that system, right? We had the single source of truth. We implemented those workflows and the custom kind of triage, as well as the business-specific requirements to dispute any of those deductions. This prevented millions of dollars in unnecessary repayments, and it also enabled the reporting that identified some of those systemic issues. I actually gave an example from this client earlier, where they saw a pricing discrepancy that had nothing to do with this workflow, but actually was further upstream. Yet the burden of that discrepancy in the system fell to this team as well as their suppliers, and really kind of created a lot of the conflict and required this team to then reach out to the merchandisers within the retailers to help reconcile that, right? So it wasn't just the 8 minutes, of response time that you typically may see within an inquiry, but actually it could be days, weeks, or months for the kind of back and forth between the shared service, the supplier, and then pulling in some of the actual business stakeholders to weigh in to help reconcile these repayments. Really, really, really painful for the team. But putting these strategies in place, it actually reduced the payback rate by 75%. That was eradicating those unnecessary erroneous repayments. It enabled them to take that policy that was previously in place and say we're automatically going to repay disputes below a certain threshold, and it drastically reduced the invoice inquiry as well as the dispute times by 80%. And when we talk about ROI, and particularly on that last point, that reduction of payments was millions of dollars in savings. Also, the FTE reduction of operational costs was meaningful. And this wasn't necessarily about, of course, like reducing heads, but it was about reallocating resource on this team to be able to focus on much more strategic and impactful work and really get them out of the tactical and the day-to-day of answering simple inquiries. Not only did it help manage the resource that was required for today, but it also enabled this team to scale. Because, of course, as we're seeing more inquiries and disputes, you need to have a solution in place that scales, not just with adding headcount and people. And so with these strategies in place and the technology in place, it actually enables scale, so that you can much more easily deal with increases of any activity, or really the ebbs and flows, handle some of the systemic errors, see those, and then address them through the monitoring and reporting that's necessary. And that root cause analysis has been a real big game changer. I mean, we still meet with them on a regular basis to review those reports, to call out any anomalies or spikes in behavior that doesn't look like the norm. And those become strategic conversations that go upstream to then identify exactly what those might be, and address them at the source. Again, taking the burden both off of the shared services team as well as the supplier users